It's all right here. It's all right now. We're nowhere in particular. Welcome one, welcome all to Fractal Radio. Okay. So it's Thursday, July 19th, 12:45:03 p.m. How's time finding you wherever you're at? I don't know. So I got my microphone back thanks to a pretty cool person over at the local musician supply who was able to solder together the USB port in the back of my Focusrite without the hassle of having me to send it back to the company that manufactured it. Hooray! So I thought I'd celebrate by releasing this little podcast, I guess you'd call it, which I decided to call Fractal Radio. I go through a lot of titles all the time, just because I guess the whole point of the Fractal Journal and my philosophy in general is an iterative process, but I do have to settle somewhere. Fractal Radio doesn't sound like too bad of a place to do it, because, but at the same time, it's such a name that I feel like somebody else probably is already using it. Yeah. So. I was just thinking earlier, just now, actually, about how everything you really need is a lot closer than you think. Like I keep wanting to buy fresh equipment and all kinds of other things, and I notice that it's more or less of a form of procrastination, wherein I want to kind of buy myself to producing something, when I should really just be using the tools I have to go ahead and produce, and as I move along, acquire stuff more wisely without less of a rush, and not use that kind of, I hate to use this bro science, but dopamine hit of having acquired a new tool or toy in lieu of having, actually produced something, some kind of creative output. So yeah, there's that nugget. I suppose I've warmed up a bit, so maybe I'll cover Elliott Smith's song 2:45 a.m., one of the few songs that I more or less know the actual full vocal melody and guitar part to a degree. So here we go. I'm going out sleepwalking, where mute memories start talking. The boss that couldn't help but hurt you, and the pretty thing he made desert you. I'm going out now like a baby, an naive, unsatisfiable baby, grabbing onto whatever's around, to the soaring high, the crushing down, with hidden cracks and don't show. They constantly just grow, looking for the man who attacked me. while everybody was laughing at me. You beat it in me, that part of you, but I'm gonna split us back in two. Tired of living in a cloud. Say shit now, you'll do it out loud. It's 2:45 in the morning, and I'm putting myself on warning for waking up in an unknown place with a recollection you have erased. Looking for somebody's arms to wave away past harms. Walking out on center circle, then both of you could just fade to black. Walking out on center circle, been pushed away and I'll never come back. So yeah, in case you're wondering, what is Fractal Radio all about? Well, it's kind of like this. Just odds and ends. It used to be, my podcast idea was going to be called Odd Narration. And then Mellow Mission Productions, I guess, is just my YouTube channel. But this podcasting bit is going to be more or less stream of consciousness, where I talk about all the kinds of ideas I talk about in the journal, as well as, hopefully, as I've been saying, have guests on, do interviews, etc. Also, for the Mellow Mission channel thing, what I'm doing there is hoping to film some stuff about water, about the outdoors, about camping, that kind of subject, etc. So make little mini documentaries. Also right now, as I'm studying web design, using Stefan Mischuk's courses, I've purchased some web space. And actually, there was another YouTuber whose tutorial I followed to make an actual from scratch WordPress rather than the paid WordPress.com thing I have. That's going to be called Weird Studios, and it's just going to be kind of a page where I have all of my things conglomerated: the Fractal Journal, the podcast, the Mellow Mission channel, and then maybe eventually offer, web development services. Don't know how well it's going to work out or when and how, but it's something I'm excited about. And I thought about having a rule about not talking about things in advance, but that's not really my personality, so why really strive to fill that mold, even if it does look a lot prettier than kind of me. But anyhow, yeah. See, just simple chords. They're really fun and really nice. And it's nice to come up with lyrical ideas over them. Like, I think it's up on my website, but it's just E minor and A minor. And I was sitting and looking out my window, and in a Nick Drake song, there's a lyric called, or a song called Toe the Line, I suppose. And that was stuck in my head. And so I was just going, wasting days and golden rays of sunshine. When will I rise and toe the drowning line? A long blonde hair, wicker chair, and summer wine. Such malaise, the million won't be fine. More or less, that's the vocal melody idea. Haven't really come up with the rest of the lyrics, but I will, and talk about the story behind it at some later point. But yeah, the general thing that I find the most fulfilling in life is to just mold ideas into a coherency. It's kind of like, that's really even what a utilitarian thing like a car is. It's a coherent set of ideas and principles derived both from the world at large, how it actually operates, and the human imagination and ingenuity. And I think that transfers well over to more philosophical, more metaphysical things as well. They do have a certain concreteness that a lot of people don't give them enough credit for. Anyway, I could pontificate about that forever. Uh-oh, my screensaver's coming up. Anyway, well, I just saw my little Linux penguin thing on there as my screensaver was coming up. And that reminds me, so I've been thinking about getting a new laptop. Yesterday, I dropped into the Office Depot and almost impulse bought one, but I decided not to because it's always wise to, be careful with your finances and throw money more at things that you believe in if you're going to throw money at things. So there's a company called System 76, which has a lot of really nice laptops, and they're basically built to work well with Linux. They even created an operating system of their own called Pop! OS, which I have not tried. I am currently using Linux Mint Sonia, which is not the latest edition, but it really works well with my older, 2014 around HP Pavilion thing. My nice gaming laptop broke down, which is why I'm in the market for a new laptop. And yeah, it's something I'm going to wait on to where I feel comfortable enough committing to the monthly installment payment that they have. And that's one thing. It's like, if you make do with what you have for the time being, even if it's not necessarily the nicest thing, eventually you'll be able to make more, I hate to be a preachy hippie, but more ethical choices with how you make purchases. You can buy things you believe in. And unfortunately, oftentimes, things that are ethically produced are a little bit more expensive. And I'm not going to make any kind of huge claim about who does what ethically, but technology industry, where we get the raw materials, is questionable. Assembly in Southeast Asian countries, those labor practices, highly questionable. So we want to mitigate that as much as possible on that level, but also Microsoft and the like are very intrusive companies in many ways, especially more nowadays than they were in the past. And that's a whole deeper discussion that I'll have at some point. I think it's better done in a two-person format, so it's not just me preaching on. But then again, I might succumb to the need to pontificate. Yeah. Let's see, how far in here are we? Oh, 12 minutes so far. So further than I usually would go with one of my Mellow Mission videos. I find this a lot more comfortable in a way because I'm not staring at myself in my little phone camera screen. And I also feel like you're getting better audio, which in a way is almost more important than video. I'm thinking about also investing in a camera. I don't know. Visual elements are nice, but if I'm vlogging or podcasting, is the visual element really that important? Who knows? Wow. But the other thing is, all of this kind of equipment, even though it can get expensive, the entry-level stuff is at this point really good, and it's just really exciting. Like being able to have access to things like violins and guitars and so many learning resources. I think that, there is a lot of talk about how culture is degraded and people are not interested in the arts and they're not serious. And a lot of that, does hold weight. And I, agree and even put that point forward myself from time to time. But at the same time, as time goes on, I feel like we're going to see a renaissance because of all of the tools and time that we now have in terms of the arts. And we're going to have to see that because that's going to have to be basically the new economy as things become more automated. So yeah, on that pretty good note, I think I'm gonna call this podcast the first one. Hopefully the audio came out okay. I'm about to check it. Take care, folks.